Hello, I am so excited today for you who are watching and listening. And to this moment, I'm sharing with one of our dear members, Adela. And Adela has been with us for several years in our academy and in our membership. We've been through with us together in retreats and programs. And today I want her to talk about her amazing experience. Amazing transformation that I find so inspiring. And for you who are thinking about becoming a thought leader, thinking about sharing your message and the voice, and feeling that, yeah, I want to get on that stage. So Adela, thank you for taking this time to be here with me today.
Thank you, Daria, for inviting me, and it's my pleasure to be with your community and to welcome everyone who is listening to our chat.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. So what I would love to hear, if you can just share in a couple of words, if when you present yourself today, who is Adela? For the ones who don't want to know you.
For the ones who don't know me, so I'm Adela. So I'm living now in Vienna, in Austria. So hi, everyone from Austria. I also have my YouTube channel, call it Making It in Austria. So check it out as well. So this is big part of me. And since 3 months, I'm a mom. So I'm a fresh
Yes.
mom. I'm a woman in tech. I'm a networking queen. I'm a podcast host or YouTube channel host. And I'm a strong believer in communities. I love building communities. I'm doing that as we speak. And it's a big part of me. And it's a big part of the mission, 1,000 Women, that we have started last year together with Daria and Sebastian and the whole community behind it that we will talk about today. So I have many hats. Of course, I'm married, I'm a wife, I'm a sister, and all that, what comes with it. So,
Yes.
and there are the reasons that I'm here. So I have a big circle of people that support me along the way, including your community, Daria. So it's a real pleasure to be here and share a little
Oh,
bit of it with you.
wonderful. Thank you. Yeah, so we are recording this for the ones who are always asking me about like momentum, how does it work in your academy, how does it feel to be on the inside? And I can talk about it forever, but I always think it's much better to talk about our members and how your experience from the inside. So before we go into that, I would like just to kind of go back in time and maybe remember, where were you when you met us in the first place, when you were starting to think about it, just before you joined the journey of the programs. What was your journey then? Can you remember Adela in about 1.5 years ago?
Of course, yeah, yeah. It's a beautiful story, and I love to share it. I share it on all my interviews and all the podcasts if you check it out. But that idea wasn't there. That idea, Daria, was born during our retreat in Barcelona, beginning of in January 2020. So in one of your retreats that we had, the idea of me going out and speaking on the stages and sharing my story of starting in Austria, so making a career in Austria, was born there. So
Mm.
when I joined, so when you called me in December 2019, I just I graduated from an MBA. I moved to another job, which in an executive role, so in a software industry, which was really exciting journey for me and still is. So you called me in December. You said we should have a chat, and I believe in those moments. I believe when people find me, so there is something in that. So
Mm.
when people after like years contact you, because we met in at Web Summit in Lisbon 2017, which was also a big game changer for me in thinking what is possible, what is happening in the world. And that's really was a place for me to see like women in tech. What is that? For me was that like, I have no idea what it is. I'm just doing my business. I'm being successful in that. And what should I care about all this, what is happening outside? And this
Right.
was, for instance, Web Summit, meeting you there and Sebastian and all these people it was a first, this first eye opener for
Mm.
me. Then you contact me, we stayed in touch, and you contacted me in December and you said you were doing something amazing. And I immediately jumped on it. I remember we had a call in the meeting room at the office. And I
Yes.
snuggled into the office. I was like, oh, yes, what are you doing? Okay, great, let's do that. And I remember I haven't planned anything for that specific, these 2 weeks around Christmas. We just talked before
Yes.
Christmas, and I didn't plan anything. So I had like 1 week where my husband and I, we were like cleaning the whole apartment. It was just this year when we felt, okay, now it's time to start, going deeper and clean all that what was around us, to create this order in our life. Because years before we came to Austria and we had to, stretch ourselves in all directions to catch up with everything what is around us. It's be it business, be it the language, be it the community, be it the network. We wanted to make it really fast. So in 7 years, we wanted to do all of it, experience everything what the locals are experiencing, build a career, do things that we love, travel, all of that. So was a very, very busy life. I remember end of 2019, so beginning 2020, it was a special year for us. And we said, it's time to bring order. And we spent 1 week cleaning the apartment in and out. And this next week was with you and the Sebastian and the whole tribe that joined for the retreat. And that's when I had basically when the idea was born. So I came there with an open mind. So I didn't have any, agenda. And I remember telling you like, I trust you, you guide us through it. So we will figure out something. I know that I'm getting the benefits out of it. I know that I'm going to meet people. I know I'm going to have a great time. I will see you, catch up, hear new ideas. So this is me. This is my personality. I enjoy. So I try being among people and where we talk about ideas, where something is created. So when we, I'd say something and you add something and all of that. So it's me. And that's where the idea of me going out and speaking on the stages was born, actually, with Sebastian sitting out there. I still have that picture in my mind. We're sitting all together on the sofa and he's challenging me and I'm saying, yeah, I would like to go to the stage and maybe talk to 500 people. I don't know. Let's see, oh, that's too much. In my eyes, like, oh my God, 500 people. I have chills, I have chills now. And I was like, no, that's not possible. Let's start with 10 or like 20 or so. No, that's too scary. And that's when the idea was born, and when what we worked through in the inner circle with Sebastian and the tribe, of me getting out there. And my first talk was like, 12 ladies. 12, it's like a close circle of us. So it was natural that I go to the, this familiar place and familiar faces to get, to start there. And that's where the idea of 1,000 women was born. So together with you guys, it was born. And we on the 17th of February 2020, I posted on LinkedIn and I said, look, this year I want to tell my story. I want to go out and I want to reach 1,000 women with it. And I asked basically my community on LinkedIn if they know someone who has a podcast or is a community leader, so they can invite me so I could give workshops on importance of networking and mentoring on how to land a job in a new country, and all these things that helped me to come to build a career that I have now and that I enjoy, doing what I do. And that's when the Forbes interview was following that. After that, like a month after it, just before the Corona hit. And then, they say everything else is the history, but basically I always say that was a tipping point as well. Meeting you guys, deciding on setting the goals and saying like, this is what I want to do. And no matter, and being out there and publicly saying, this accountability, because people followed what I've done in and out and asked me, like every time when I would have a call with my people that are in my circle, they would say, okay, and how is it going? How is your 1,000 women? Where are you? It's so important to be, to say it out loud. It's scary, but it's important. And you need support like yourself for that. The Forbes interview and the Corona. I must really say that Corona did tremendous, since it was such an important point for us, for my family, so for my husband and for myself as well, because it opened the world to us. Because with the speaking before, it was when I put that number 1,000 women, it was scary because I said, how am I going to do a full-time job and staying longer hours, because that's the position that I have. I have 2 communities where I'm actively involved, and I'm as a vice president, so planning the whole and execution. And I'm also curious about thousands other things and projects that there are around. And I am also in the inner circle and I have life and friends. And I was thinking, how am I going to do that? It's really, really scary traveling somewhere, planning it, all that. And the Corona came and opened the world through Zoom, basically, or Microsoft Teams or whatever. But basically it was Zoom, where I could apply to any conference in the world. And I get invited to speak there and just, building my network, growing my network, and spreading the word
Yeah,
through women in tech and other activities as well.
absolutely. And what I really see is that you mentioned a couple of things I want to come back to is that
Mhm.
uh, Katie, who you can also
Yeah.
watch for this
Yeah.
recording, talked about you cannot see what you don't see. And I feel like something that you mentioned to me as well is that sometimes you just need to have someone seeing the path for you, what's
Yeah.
possible of like, okay, you're here. It's not that you're not good where you are. Like you said, you're successful, you're happy, you're
Yeah.
having a good
Mhm.
life.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just ask yourself, what else can I do? What else can I? And this is the desire that comes from having the contribution, the impact to grow, to be able to say, what else can I do with my skills, with my genius, with my stories, with my background, with all who I am? What is it that I can create? I can have a beautiful impact on myself, on my family, and on my community. So that is a really important part. And I think that, even just coming back to it is something kind of anchoring that it's not, it has to be something wrong. It's sometimes just
Yeah.
something that is, there is more to it. You have this bubbly feeling in your stomach, like I've been working so hard for 7 years creating this. Now it's time to take care of myself and see how can I invest in myself and grow myself to the next level, whatever that means. And then you mentioned the retreat, the next chapter experience we did in Barcelona, where we worked on the mission and the vision, and that understanding of having a vision, how your life can change around you, and having a vision. And maybe you can just say 2 or 3 words about what did that mission vision give to you, like when you had that, after having that in your life, how did it feel different?
It's different because then you know everything that you do. It's purpose. We talk about purpose and we talk about make things make sense. They
Yeah,
finally fall in place.
yeah,
And as you said yourself, there are people that see more of you than you see of yourself, and that's what happened to me back then. And I and this story of me telling my story was sitting inside of me for a very, very long time. But we all get busy with our lives. You're moving across the career ladder, you're doing in executive education, you're doing things, and you just put in, like, there's a dust coming on this story, just put more dust, more dust, and more dust, and then at some point you feel like um, it wants to come out. It
yes,
must come out. And that's what I always tell to people. You have to go as well with your gut. It's one thing you have a perfect, and I don't have usually plans. So people ask me if I have had a master plan, I'm going to do this at the exact moment, and then I'm going to join Forbes, and then I'm going to Women in Tech. No. So I had a really, but this vibration, this energy that you send
yes,
out to the world and saying, really, this, I need to tell this, and it needs to come out from me. And I hope, and with always thinking about what it can help to others, because I didn't
yes,
want to go out just for the sake of telling a story. It was also for hoping that I can influence other people, or I can answer some of the questions that other people who will look at me and say, wow, wow, what a
yeah,
great career, what a great path. So I wanted to give them a little bit of this, along the way. So what happened along the way,
yes,
to hopefully inspire them and have them create this motion where they then inspire other people, and then it goes
yeah,
like that, because that's
yeah,
how you basically create the change. And what we all like to write, make the world better place. Yes, but how?
yes,
If you just think about make a world better place and then sit at home and feel like you cannot move and feel paralyzed, then it's about you taking the first step and saying, okay, this is what I can do, what I can contribute in this world, and what I would like to stays after me. Because, as I said, I've been here because people trusted in me. So if there would haven't been people along my way who put faith in me and said, like, you have a talent, you should go for this and that, there's much more for you in this world than what you can see at the moment, I wouldn't be here. And this was my way of giving back and serving the community, and just saying, this is what I can
yeah,
contribute in this world.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So that was the idea of the confidence, having someone having faith in you. And that's what I think when it comes to coaching programs, or having a mentor, having people actually holding the space for you. Like when I see momentum, I feel it's like a container where you come in and I mentally, spiritually, physically, like kind of hold this space for you for this 6 months together, 1 year together. Sometimes we have people with us for 2 years and ongoing, because it's almost like that I'm there. You know that I'm
Yes.
one message away, and that when anything and something happens, or you are going through an extreme success, which also happens a lot in our
Yeah.
programs, when you're like, oh my god, this is so much happening, like 40 talks in a year from a couple of workshops, like Forbes, all this coming up, like how do you hold this space? How do you hold this space for your growth so it doesn't become a burnout, doesn't become something that you cannot really hold, you know? So let us talk about, I think the ones who are listening are like, okay, come to the juicy things. Like if we talk numbers here, like if we talk to the brain, what results did you get with momentum? If you, okay, of course, we had the next chapter experience and you were part of the inner circle and then momentum, but if you can just think about the last 6 months we did the work together of, you know, really, because that was the big part we did around the speaking, getting out on stage, getting the mission out. What was the external results? If you can just say like an X amount of talks, workshops, like we just talked about a bit of numbers, we talked to the brain for a
Yeah.
second.
Yeah.
How did
To the
that look
brain.
like? Yeah.
For the ones who know me, so you should put a disclaimer here, Daria. Adela talks and talks and talks. So this is the
Oh no.
disclaimer. So this is me. I talk, and I hope that people through my stories can get, you know, the pieces that they're looking at. But in 2020, so the mission 1000 women, so it was also in momentum as well, so it continued, so because
Yeah.
it was 2020 1000 women.
Yeah.
And I did over 40 workshops. I did including like interviews, podcasts, writing, you know, for different magazines, going for large conferences. So I did a little slide, you know, for all the speaking engagements that I did, and it was like lots of cool logos, which I'm very very proud of. And I hope that with that I can inspire all of you that it takes a very little, you know, it's just this little shift, that it's not about, you know, that I needed days and hours to create a presentation and think of the message. When you do things with heart, I must say that when you do things with heart, you get a different reaction. You know,
Yes.
people, when they really, so they feel that you're doing that for a good reason, and they really want to invite you. And that's how it went so fast and unexpected, because when people saw me at one stage speaking, they wanted me to come back and talk to their community. And that's how basically it went. So I didn't apply to any community to give a talk and so on. It was just the first initial talk, and from there it just took over. And
Yeah.
in momentum, um, it just, you know, went up, because we created something new again. So we created Making It in Austria, which didn't exist months before. So, and
Yeah.
which is a completely new community and completely new new message that I'm sending out to the world. And so far I'm getting to the 50th this week. I'm hoping I'm recording 50th interview. So again, numbers. And we have over 200 subscribers, so really cool people that are following, writing, you know, the fans, subscribers coming to the fans who send, like, I get tons of messages on LinkedIn. I get, you know, people that are really inspired by this. I get people that, you know, want to come to me and want me to record their stories, because they feel they have finally someone who can tell, you know, who they can tell the story.
That's so
Yeah. So,
beautiful.
and that's, you know, that's what makes what is possible when you do things, as I said,
Yeah.
with heart. And when you have a community like yourself, you know, finding a coach. And I talk every day with a new person, so that's my lifestyle. I talk every day with a new person who found me somewhere and listened to my talk and wants to have a chat with me. And I know how hard it is for someone to give a trust to external person.
Yeah.
I'm myself is as well, you know, to give a trust to a coach, to a mentor, because you're giving part of yourself. Because when
Yeah.
you're with the coach and with you know, mastermind, or with the tribe or the group, you need to tell your deepest secrets. You know,
Yeah.
you need to open up in order to create something that's extraordinary. And this is I think the hardest part nowadays for people that I talk to, and for myself was the same, to, you know, give that trust to someone. Who should I give that trust? Because there's so many people, you know, around. There's so many, you know, coaches and business coaches and people who, like, yeah, I'm doing this, come join me, and I you know, promise you that outcome. And so
Mm.
that's, for me, was, you know, the most important part always in my life, is what is this trust that I have in you, and that
Yeah.
I know that you are there for me, you're guiding me through, and we can
Mm.
do things together. And that's, I'm sure, why people stay for. I stayed over a year longer, because I didn't want to go somewhere else and then try, you know, give try things out just for the sake. I wanted to continue it
Mm.
because, and that's where you see my progress. I started from the zero, you know, and started the year on the 6th of January in Barcelona, 2020, where I didn't have any speaking engagement before, any mission, any vision, nothing. So people can check. There's nothing about me before, but now if you Google me, there's tons of things that are popping up.
Yeah.
So there was nothing, and there suddenly, so there is like you know, hundreds of things that you can find of me. You know,
Yeah.
I wrote about things, I gave the interviews, I gave the workshops, and I still continue doing that for different
Yeah.
communities. And I think that this year and the year that is coming, I'm just taking the, you know, I'm reaping the what we have planted the seeds, because there's so many people that are coming now to me and saying, yeah, I listened to you last year and I would love you to come to talk to us, and I would love to give the workshop to our community. So it's like, it wasn't 1,000 women, it was at the end 100,000, and people were saying, why did you put such a low score, you know, why just 100, why
Oh,
not, you know, 100,000? And then I tell them the story, you know, that it's easy to look from the outside, but when you are inside in the game and realize every single day I'm showing up and I'm contributing and I'm doing something, I'm writing on LinkedIn, I'm creating my presentation, I'm contacting people, I'm responding my messages, I'm chatting with everyone. So it is, I would say it's a work, so I will not undermine that. So it's like, okay, yeah, it's just it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of play, it's lots of, you get lots of energy back, good
yeah.
vibes back. But at the end of the day, if you are really committed to this, and that's the mission and that's the vision, if you're committed to that, you need to show up every single day. And you need to answer every single message and try to, you know, do your best, you know, because that's how you create this trust, that people come to you over and over again for whatever it is. I get requests for, you know, community members in Bosnia. Even I live in Austria, people say, who should I contact in Bosnia? You sure have big network to contact to.
Mm.
So the numbers are beyond what we have put to the table, Daria, when we planned this. So it's 10 times more, and it's just the beginning. It's just something that I have started,
Yeah.
and it's good to say that, you know, more initiatives have been created to that. So I just
Yes. Yes.
continue doing that. So we just went from one mission to another because we worked on a mission for a year, and so on.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the why. Thank you so much for sharing. I love hearing your story. It's always so wonderful because I've been with you for a couple of, I've known the progress, I've known how it's in, and I just see how you just, it's becoming bigger, bigger, and there's more impact, and there are people like the connections, the tribe. I think it's so beautiful because this is real impact. It's not about, like you mentioned, it's not about, it's about the heart. It's about
Yeah,
what's bigger than me. This is bigger than you. And this is the
yeah,
type of people we work with. The people in our programs, they create things that are bigger than themselves.
mm,
And it's kind of a visionary thing that comes with that. So I wanted to say about what you mentioned, that it has, you had a goal and then it became bigger and then new things can happen. And this is why it's called momentum, because
yeah,
it's almost like if you put a goal, which is basically I'm going from here to here, well, that's very short term and it's very tunnel vision. And we're just getting to like, okay, we are here, but we're just fixing a leak on the boat. We are not really making something bigger, and bigger things takes time, and we are
mm,
not going to shortcut it, and it doesn't have to take a long time because like you said, in 2020 you went from almost zero um, speaking
yeah,
engagement to 40 and like getting on Forbes and all that. But it's about allowing yourself to be a work in progress the rest of your life, because it's such a
yeah,
big, and momentum is like, okay, I have the desire to create this, and it just becomes one thing after another, and you have the ripple effect of that, not only
yeah,
in those 6 months but also years
yes,
ahead. And that's what I think is really important that you mentioned, that that's the way we work as well. For me, it's not
yeah,
about the short term can happen if you're doing thinking long term. That's how I see
yeah,
it. Absolutely.
yes,
So let's just talk about the internal, because the internal, that was the external results. If we talk
yeah,
about it, what happened on the inside, because all of this happened because something happened on the inside. So what happened in momentum on the internal, let's say even like chapter in the circle, what did you feel was different?
what I tell to people that a year ago I wouldn't put there's no video of me. There's no me being out there publicly, and and gaining this confidence. I'm not a big fan of this. Just do it, just do
Mm,
it. But what, and how? You need someone to guide you through that, and that's what happened in Momentum as well. I remember the beginning we were saying like, yeah, do this, create a video of yourself, put it online, tell the story, and I was like, oh my God, it's like feeling like this big wave is coming at you. It's like, breathe.
yeah.
And that's what happened. I now I sit comfortably at my home and talking to you, Daria. And for me, this wasn't possible. So this wasn't beyond imagining that I could just sit and talk to you, and not just you, to people around the world, sharing my message. And
Yeah.
this had to happen, continuously, as I said, every single day, little by little, working on where I want to go. And it's, as you said, work in progress. I still have hiccups, and I still come unprepared for things, and I still, want to say one thing and I forget to say it, and so on. But walking in these shoes, from nothing to something, it's so valuable, because I've done that work, and I don't want, and you don't want to outsource that part. You have to own it. You have to own that part, where you go through that and think, now I am going to tell to the world my story. And that's a scary part as well, because you're opening yourself up. So now people know that I'm, married, that I have a kid, that I'm a mom, that I, what do I do, who I meet, and so on. It's and how did I came here, and who helped me along the way, and so on. So it's not that easy. It's not just like, I'm going to do it for the sake of, likes or whatever. It's really because I believe in that, and opening yourself. It's an internal work that needs to happen. And
Yeah.
it's good to have someone along you. It's a must. You need to have this back and forth, and that's what we had with our bi-weekly calls, with our WhatsApp group, with our calls that we had. This was such an important. This is an important part. This must happen, because there's so many things that we go through. Like in the morning, I don't feel like ready. I don't want to do this, and who am I to share this message to? Like, yeah, I
Mm,
want to show up, and I want to go there, and I'm going to say it, whatever that is. And I have someone to come back and share how it happened. And it's an important part, to have someone who understands what are you going through,
yeah.
not just you, but as well the community that we had as a part of it. So I feel, I wouldn't change it for a world. So it's, as I said, it was a year of many, many things. And yourself, like going from one speaking engagement to another, just like closing the Zoom from one to another. But I wouldn't change it for a world. And it's part of me. I own it. And it's made me, so it helped me to be where I am now.
Yeah.
And where I feel really, like, this is me. I own
Mm,
this part. I'm an executive, and that's what people tell me. How can you write on LinkedIn like a normal person? Because they expect that, you're like, this is your portrait, you put it there, and that's it. You just put your certificates and your awards, and that's it. And they say, like, in you we see someone who can, that we can share a little bit of ourselves, that we can share a little bit of our story, and still be, someone that people will ask for an important advice, people will take very, very serious, and come to for whatever it is. It's technology, or it's building a community. So, and this all work happened through working every single day on yeah, on my mission, and on what we have done together. And I say, you need to give it a try. There is no plan. There is no master plan behind it. There is a big trust in people that you work with. So that's the most important part. And seeing others succeeding as well, because that's a very important part too in your tribe. It's something that gives you even more. It's like it just boosts you even more. It's like, yes, I want. Yeah, Katie succeeded. Oh, David did that. Oh my God, maybe I could do something like that. Or how did she do that? You look at her resume, it's impressive. Or David's resume, it's impressive. Oh my God, and he has still struggles, or he struggles with calling a client back, or putting his video on YouTube. And how did she do that, or he did that? So that's such an important part
Yeah.
of the whole momentum, where you have people that are going through the same journey like yourself. Yeah.
Mm. And it leads me naturally to a question of, for it's a very curated experience. It's a lot of
Mm.
people like who had never done a group program before with us, group coaching. It's not an online course. It's not something
Yeah.
that you're self-paced. Like it's a whole experience. So can you explain to someone who's on the outside who doesn't know what it feels like, what actually happens inside? Like on a weekly basis, you mentioned the bi-weekly calls, or you mentioned like the
Yeah.
Zoom call. Like how does that integrate into your life? If you think about it, the year you had, you were part
Hmm.
of Momentum or Inner Circle, how does it look like? Because you have a full-on work and life and social
Mm.
life and your mission, but how does it integrate? How did you show up for that?
Mm. So that's super important question. I did all my coaching so far in a group. So I never done
Mm,
one-on-one, basically. So I would definitely, if you never tried it, or people who are listening to this, if you haven't tried it, give it a try. Because as I said, one part is that what I get from you, from Daria, from Sebastian, is your experience and where you are. So because you are kind of mentors for us. Remember this 33% rule of success in life that you share with me. You're kind of mentors for us. And of course, you're going in the same shoes like we do. So you're trying things out, because that's the life we live nowadays. It's
mm,
not something, something is fixed. We had Corona and we saw that everything falls outside of what we have planned. So one part is that. And then, of course, you need people like yourself, who are trying something out. They're building their own business, for instance, like Katie or David. So they are scaling up. So, and that's where you learn the most from them. So by the questions that they ask, by Katie
mm,
was asking tons of questions about starting her podcast, and David had her podcast. And I was thinking, what is a podcast? What is that word? And then I was like, then I came later to that. I joined the end of the year in December, where I launched my YouTube channel. But, I wouldn't come to that, and I would probably go back and forth and think how to do that. But I had people who are doing it already. So
yeah,
if you never tried the group, you have to try a group, because that's where you learn. It's 50-50 or even more, when people ask questions. And that's the beauty, when they ask question, you learn from it. And you always think, okay, Katie asked that question. We are in a group call. And, what does it mean for me? I remember you always asked us, while you were answering question for Katie that she brought, you asked always like, what was for you, Adela, there? Or what was for you, David, or people that were in the call? So what can you take and apply for yourself? And this is such an important part. And of course, it's regularity. You have this accountability. You said that you're going to do something by that point. You will give it a try. You will make 10 calls. You will do a podcast and so on. And now there's, after 2 weeks, they're like, you come again. And I was the only one who was working full time. So I'm in corporate world, and everybody else was having their own business. And I didn't feel excluded. I felt like accepted. I felt like I have this where I am at the moment, and this is what I do. And I will probably transition some point to different world. And I felt that with my experience, I can contribute. So I can contribute what I am doing, because all they have been also in the corporate world. And for me, it
yeah,
was also looking forward. Okay, like Katie was working 15 years in business. David was working, but it wasn't working for him. So this is something that I can do going forward. So
yeah,
it's so much. So you have to really, if you commit to this, to people who are listening to this, you need to commit to this, and give the best what you can, because there are days when you will be fully energized to show up for everybody else, and everybody else will be down because, this didn't work out. So,
yeah,
and then you have this group, spirit, where you kind of, you learn from one another, and you profit from one another. So I
yeah.
wouldn't, this one-on-one is good thing, but I'm definitely up for this, group thing,
Same.
because
Yeah.
there's so much.
Yeah.
And you go with what was important in momentum for myself to add on to that was that you go with us. It's not something, as we said, the script has been written 5 years ago and then we execute. No, you go around and said, okay, you want to go on a podcast. Okay. These are the 10 podcast places that you have to show up. These are the people that you can contact. This is how you can do it, and so on and so
Mm,
forth. So
mm.
it's a lot of work to do. You work along the momentum, and then things start come together. You
Yeah.
know, it's not, for me as well, with the Making It in Austria YouTube channel, things came together with, you know, launching my networking checklist, which kind of forced me and was like, do it, do it, and do it. And now I'm so grateful that I did it, because I have always something to send to people and say, go there and check it out. It's everything there, what you need to know, and then come back to me if there's something that is missing and that you want to go further. The Making It in Austria, now the community that I'm building, because I don't just want to leave it with the interviews, I really want to create a community out of it. And this is what I'm starting now, because the baby is 3 months and we can slowly, you know, start the monthly meetings where people can meet, and we will probably create much more out of it.
Yeah.
And we will go with that. So I will go basically with the group and see who's ready to commit to more. This is the girl.
Amazing.
She needs to, she needs to, I need to feed her.
Yes, yes, we'll finalize it in just a couple of minutes. So if you you mentioned, so of course the group is super important and the people we
Yes.
have in the group are amazing
Yeah.
superhumans and they're
Yeah.
all extraordinary.
Yeah.
Um what is it that you took away from me and what did you take from Sebastian? Because we have this combination of the both of us that is
Yeah.
quite unique in the coaching industry, because many times you just have one mentor, whereas me and
Yeah.
Sebastian are both very present and we are very different. So if you would have to
Yes.
say like, this is what I took from you and this is what I took from Sebastian and this is what I went for you, when I had this question I went to you, when I had this question I went to Sebastian, what was it that you could
That's super
potentially
easy.
yeah.
you That's super easy, because you're very different and you fit together. And one of the things that I took from you is the structure. You bring
Mhm.
so much structure, and you need that in momentum. You need that because you're all over the places. You know, I come with you with, you know, hundreds of ideas, and then somehow you need to make sense out of it, because either continued creating ideas and ideas and ideas, and I will never launch anything. You know, it will be always some idea after idea, and then I never launch anything. And this is you. You bring so much structure. So you create from a mess, from the chaos, you know, the visionaries people have. You create something meaningful that I can take and say, wow, this is exactly what I was looking for. I'm
Mm.
going back and I'm going to execute. Sebastian, on the other hand, you know, he's an energy. You know, he's this lots of, you know, energy. So Sebastian brings that into it. So, and he challenges us as well a lot. So that's what when Sebastian is like, okay, I need to be bigger and bigger and bigger. Okay, then go to Sebastian, because he will say, huh, speaking for 10 people, yeah, forget about 500. We want 1,000. We want 5,000. We want this stage, that stage, and so on. So it's really about this vision. And I think we did that also during the, you know, the retreat, and we did that during the inner circle, the vision, you know, how to, you know, think beyond whatever you have thought in your wildest dream. That's where you go to Sebastian. Yeah. So these are the
Yeah,
things that I
amazing.
took with
Easy.
me. And it's
Structure
easy,
and
you know,
vision.
like a
Yes.
structure, and, you know, because you need both. You need
Yeah.
both, because
Oh,
you're
yeah.
all over the place, not to think too small, and
Yeah.
not, you know, not to stay always in this ideation cycle. You know, just go, if I try this, if I try that, if I try that, what will happen? You need to cut that, and you need to
Yeah.
start executing. And that's why we need both. Otherwise, yeah, it will be just nice to have, and
Yes.
no, nothing for the brain. It will be hard, but not much, as you said, for the brain. You're like, I gave 50 talks and that many podcasts and workshops and so on and so forth. So
Yeah.
it has
You
to
need
be,
to feed both.
you, yes, you need the goals, you know, and you need to lead with the heart. But at the end of the day, people will say, okay, how many interviews did you get? How many podcasts? How many shows? How many workshops? Did you launch the website? Did you start your course? And so on and so forth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the final question, because I want you to be
Yes.
able to go back to your family. If someone is listening or watching and they're thinking of, I want to join Momentum, I want to join, you know, maybe, or even something else that we are doing, and they're kind of on the fence. They're like, I
Yeah.
want it, I feel it, I'm excited, but am I doing the right thing? Because we all going through this process when we
Yes.
commit to something
Yes.
big, because
Yes.
it's about up
Yes.
leveling ourselves, most
Yep.
importantly. Like, am I doing this for myself? What
Yep.
happens if I succeed? Is even more scary. What happens if I actually come on Forbes and have all these 40 talks and everything is working? Oh my God, who am I becoming? So if they're thinking, oh my God, am I doing this? What would be the advice for you? What would be the advice that you have given yourself maybe when you were committing to this journey with us?
Uh, there is this, you know, something bigger. So I think we all have that in ourselves, that we want to create something bigger than ourselves. If we are honest, if we really, close ourselves in a room and have an honest talk about self, we all have a story to share, and we all have something that is bigger than us. Because
Yeah.
as you said, I could have go to the work and go 9 to 5 and be great in that, but there was something in me that wanted to come out, that wanted to be shared with the world. And I know that every single person has it, because I met over thousands of women who on the outside they are successful as you can be, they went on all stages, but there is something more, something inside that they want to tell to the world, that they want to create for themselves, because they've been doing, I don't know, for 10 years, 20 years, something, because they expected to be doing something. They went in a corporate world because, that was a time when you go to the corporate, you're a banker or you're a lawyer, you're a doctor, and that's it, nothing else exists. And they are now, for instance, women that I met, they are creating something outside, that you haven't seen before, because they said, I finally started trusting myself and listening to my inner voice, and listening to myself and saying, okay, this is what I want to do, this is bigger than myself, and I want to give it a try. And what is the, I always tell to myself, what is the worst case that can happen?
Mm.
What is the bottom line? If we think about, it's not life or death. You have to, in your life, we should allow ourselves even more to try things out, to experiment, and if you to give it ourselves a little bit of break, being like just on point, on time, executing for whatever purpose it is. And we need to, allow ourselves to, get out there and do something extraordinary for ourselves, and listening ourselves and our voice. And you have to give it a try. You have to trust your guts. And as I say, what is the worst thing that you can do? You can go to Forbes and you can launch your own business and start your own community. And from there, you take it further and further and further, because, as you said, work in progress.
Absolutely. Well, Adela, thank you so much for taking the time. I really enjoyed being here with you as always. It's such a pleasure seeing you grow and seeing you just take over with the mission and the impact. And thank you so much. And I am grateful for this moment together. And for the ones watching, listen, just do check out Adela's work on LinkedIn, and she's doing amazing things in the world. So do check it out. And yeah, thank you, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you, Daria. Thank you, everyone. Happy to connect later on. Thank you.